informs Saoji that no wonder he is the ultimate tail red. After saying this, he captures Saoji once again with his ribbon. And this time, he isn't even able to break through and gets tied up like a present on Christmas Eve. Meanwhile, in the base, Eika isn't able to watch it anymore and requests Turul to do something about it. However, Turul can't do anything as she doesn't have any long-range missiles to attack or any super cool power. The only thing that can fight against these monsters is Twin Gear, but unfortunately, the guy with it is already in a sticky situation. Hearing the word Twin Gear makes Eika remember the other Twin Gears that Turul had in her possession, so she asks her to give one to her so she can beat that ribbon-loving creepy alien. However, Turul is reluctant to give it to her as she made it for a person with big books, but unfortunately, Eika lacks that. Eika remembers how Turul told Saoji that the candidate in her mind was a flat-chested violent gorilla, which makes her even angrier as she beats Turul up. After receiving a beating, Turul brings out the Twin Gear and asks Eika if she would beat her up if she didn't give it to her. Then she laughs as she assures herself that there is no way she will forcefully snatch it from her, but unfortunately, the flat-chested violent gorilla doesn't care one bit about her feelings and steals it right from her hands and transforms into her twin-tailed form. She then proceeds to teleport to Saoji's location to aid him in the fight. A few seconds later, Eika arrives at the location, confronts the creepy ribbon-loving weirdo, and asks him to free Saoji. The fox boss is surprised that there is another one of such twin tails in the world, but after looking at her flat chest and angry expression, he decides to not comment as his red tail is still better. This makes Eika angry as she summons out her weapon and beats up the fox boss. The fox boss tries to use Saoji's mannequin to make her stop, but Eika is brutal and destroys it without any hesitation. After defeating the fox boss, she takes out his crystallized gem and puts it inside her Twin Gear to receive an even greater power boost. The power allows her to fly, so she grabs Saoji and carries him in his arms as if he's a princess and flies away. Later, they are all at home, when the news channels go crazy as they cover the topic of a new twin tail who goes by the name of Blue Tail. They call her a villain who is helping Tail Red only to betray her later. This makes Eika feel very desperate as she is close to crying. She grabs Turul and asks her why this is happening, and the poor Turul doesn't even know why she was brought up in this fight in the first place. The following day, Saoji and Eika are on their way to school when Eika starts to complain about his popularity, while other people seem to hate her and call her a villainess who would betray the hero for some spare change later in the series. While they are chit-chatting, they arrive at the school and find that all the girls are in twin tails. This excites Saoji, who can't believe his eyes. Eika is also wondering as to what caused this when the school president, Irina, comes up to them and tells them about how the red tail changed her life, and how the blue tail who has just come into the scene restored their belief in the twin tails. Eika is happy to hear praises about her for the first time. She happily starts to discuss it with Irina when she stops her as she looks closer at Saoji and almost mistakes him for Red Tail. However, she quickly lets it go as to how can a man become a woman. If this was Twitter, Irina would be cancelled for being a transphobe, but she is spared due to being a fictional character. Saoji heaved a sigh of relief as he thought that he might have gotten exposed. Irina excuses herself and is about to leave when she reminds him that his application for the Twin Tails Club was approved and that he can create it now. Saoji is very hyped as he can't believe that his dream would finally come true. Meanwhile, in the grand base of the Eleminions, the leader summons the remaining bosses and asks them about the situation of the war on the planet Earth. They inform him about all the details, such as how they have lost thousands of Eleminions and even a few bosses to the Twin Tail fighters, the Red Tail, and the Blue Tail. The leader stays silent for a moment before ordering them to call back all the Eleminions, as fighting like this would only cause more of their people to die and it may become a war of attrition which they cannot bear. Instead, he asks if any one of the bosses wants to go to Earth and take out the Twin Tails duo. The Swan boss stands up and requests the leader to allow him to go and fight those two. The leader agrees to his request, but before that, he wants to test him if he's worthy enough to go and fight the duo. The test is a harem autumn game in which the main character has to choose specific dialogues to unlock different endings with each girl. The Swan boss attempts the fight, but unfortunately, his resolve is too weak and he doesn't end up winning all of them, which causes the leader to be disappointed in him, so he chooses to do it himself in the end. He asks them to gather all the remaining minions they have and leads them to end this war once and for all. On the other hand, Eika is showering when she checks out her chest and wonders if it has grown a little bit, but instead, what she finds is just some muscles. She is so flat that even some guys have bigger bodies than her. She is disappointed and continues to shower, so at least she doesn't smell bad when suddenly her twin gear rings as Turul informs her about an Eleminian invasion. Eika asks her to wait for a while so at least she can complete her shower, so Saoji has to go out alone and handle the situation himself. Saoji arrives at the location and finds nothing. Just when he drops his guard, he is attacked by the leader with his big sword. Fortunately, Saoji is quick enough and blocks his attack with his tiny sword, and hence begins the sword fight between two grown-up men with twin tails fetish. The leader praises Saoji's quick wits and decides to fight him fairly. He introduces himself to be the leader of the Holy Army, the one and only Dragon Boss himself. Saoji is surprised and asks him Dragon what? So Dragon Boss tells him to drag these balls across his face. Saoji gets furious and starts to crazily attack him, but Dragon Boss is too strong and easily handles him. Aka also arrives on the scene to help as she asks the Dragon Boss about their purpose of attacking the planet which loves twin tails so much when he deeply loves them. The Dragon Boss explains that it's a matter between the food chain, so there is no morality in this. Instead, he tells them that he once fought a woman in blue tail gear as well, but unlike Aka, who is flatter than the brain of people who believe in the flat earth, that woman had big melons which very firm and heavy. Aka is shocked and questions him where, so he answers that he fought her on one of the previous worlds. That woman was the heroine of her world, but sadly she was the reason that planet was brought to its destruction. Her identity created love for twin tails and people, which made it the target of Eleminians who deeply desire for such craving. Aka can't believe that they are fighting for nothing, as until the twin tails remain on this planet, this war will continue. However, Saoji asks her to get out of her delusion and focus on reality. He tells Aka that he doesn't want to live in a world where twin tails are no more. Instead of laughing at him, the Dragon Boss praises his genuine love for twin tails and considers him an equal. Just when they are about to continue their fight, Turul appears while wearing a mask. She introduces herself as a masked twin tail, however, there is no special power coming out from her. The Dragon Boss recognizes her to be the woman that he once fought and asks where her massive energy disappears. She tells him that she relinquished her power. She gives an emotional speech about her love for twin tails and how she doesn't want this world to lose its love too. This inspires Saoji, who becomes hyped up and prepares to engage the Dragon Boss in the fight. The Dragon Boss is also excited as he orders all 800 of his minions to attack them. Saoji requests Aka to handle them while he engages alone with the Dragon Boss. The fight goes on as they continue to fight. While Aka takes out all the small minions, she becomes exhausted and falls, leaving behind everything to Saoji. Saoji is also getting his ass beaten up, but then he uses his quick wits to defeat the Dragon Boss and win the battle. However, he is also very exhausted, so he falls as well. One day, Saoji is playing with his fluffy twin tails in his tail red form when he is caught red-handed by Aka. So to defend himself, he makes an excuse that he was writing stuff for the Twin Tail Club, so that's why he had to transform. Aka doesn't buy his excuse and is already angry enough, but Turul makes it even more worse when she teases her that the only quality that Saoji liked isn't even worth it in his eyes anymore, as he hasn't played with her twin tails in days. To release her anger, she just punches Turul, which launches her outside the house. Later, Aka has just finished defeating the turtle Eleminian, who was in love with cute girls wearing swimsuits. After defeating him and taking his crystallized gem, she transforms back into her original form and heads back to school with Saoji. At school, a woman walks in with a maid costume as she introduces herself to their new teacher, Mikoto. She then proceeds to introduce a new transfer student who turns out to be none other than our beloved white-haired waifu Turul. She introduces herself to Saoji's relatives and sits with them in the class. Later, the group heads to their club room, which is finally allowed by the school council. They want to head inside, but Turul suddenly pops up and warns them to not peek inside till she's done adjusting the setup. While Saoji and Aka are waiting inside, Irina, alongside the new teacher, walks up to them and asks if they can see the club room. However, Aka and Saoji stop them as Turul is still setting things up. Till then, they try to avert their attention by chatting with her about the teacher next to her in a maid cosplay. Irina informs them that it's her head maid who joined the school as a teacher to become an advisor for the Tails Club. Saoji and Aka are amazed and thank her for doing so, as it helped them. At that moment, Turul also invites them inside as she is done with setting things up. Inside the club room, they sit together where Irina suddenly starts to ask Saoji questions about twin tails. Saoji is confused at first, but then realizes that this might be a test from her, so he starts to talk about how much he loves twin tails and how it's his only motivation for living in this world. Irina is baffled by his answers and doesn't know how to answer. Before she can say anything, her eyes fall on Saoji's bracelet as she presses on it. Saoji is shocked and immediately covers it when Irina advises him to not wear accessories in school, even if it's a replica of Tail Red's bracelet, as it's against the rules. After saying this, she leaves the club room alongside the teacher. After she leaves, Saoji heaves a sigh of relief as he furiously asks Turul how could Irina see the bracelet when she assures him that outside of transformation no one would be able to see it. Turul informs him that normally she shouldn't be able to see it, but after being attacked by the Eleminians and being an ultimate twin tail herself, maybe she has the power to see it. Meanwhile, in the head base of the Eleminians, the Sparrow Boss is getting worried because he believes that they will soon lose if they do not receive any reinforcements. He also dreads the Twin Tails duo, as they have been nothing but a headache for their army. However, just when he is getting hopeless, his subordinate comes up to him and informs him that the two big bosses are here, the Kraken boss and the Leviathan boss. The Sparrow boss is exhilarated, as with these two giants defeating the Twin Tails duo would be an easy task, unlike doing your mom cause she is too fat. Outside the control room, two groups are fighting each other as they throw slogans at each other. One side supports big bodonkas while the other guys are fans of the flat. Unfortunately, no medium is premium, or else it will be a fine battle. The Sparrow boss tries to mediate the fight as he asks the Kraken boss and Leviathan boss to use their energy against the Twin Tails duo who has been harassing them lately. However, the big bosses ask him to relax as they have already sent their strongest soldiers to defeat those two pesky brats. Back on Earth, Irina and Makoto are going back home after shopping when they are attacked by the Buffalo boss. The Buffalo boss loves big bodonkas, so he asks Makoto to come with him, but instead of receiving milk, he receives kicks from Eika and Saoji, who arrive on the scene for their rescue. Seeing his nemesis approach him, the Buffalo boss introduces himself and explains his love for big jugs. However, this irritates Eika, who is nowhere to be considered as having big jugs, so she gets angry and starts to beat him up using her ultimate attacks. The Buffalo boss can't believe that he was defeated by a flat chest and dies a death of regret. Eika grabs his crystallized gem and takes it to Turul for examination. Turul tests the gem and finds that with this she can create an add-on in her third twin gear that she has been recently working on. The add-on would allow the user to grow big bodonkas, as it comes from a big bodonka's loving attribute. Hearing this, Eika starts to fantasize about having big jugs, so she begs Turul to give them to her. Turul can't believe that a proud person like this violent gorilla would ever beg her for something, so she agrees to do it, and as a woman she can understand the love for big jugs better than any other person. Later, she finally completed the third gear, and she gave it to Eika. Eika is excited and immediately wants to transform, but unfortunately, when she tries to do it, she fails. She keeps on trying but isn't able to transform and asks Turul if it's defective. Turul assures her that her product is fine and that the user is just too crappy to use it. However, Saoji has a better answer, as he thinks that her body is used to her previous gear and that's why it's having a hard time adjusting to the new one. After hearing his explanation, she lets it go and goes back to her blue tail gear. The following day, Irina is once again out shopping when she gets attacked by Eleminions. This time it's the crab boss who loves the backs of the necks. He loves the back of the necks so much that he has learned how to teleport behind people to see their necks from behind. He is gazing at the beautiful neck of Irina when Saoji and Eika arrive to rescue them. But this time even they aren't able to defeat him, as he's too fast for them to attack. While Eika is struggling against him, Saoji takes Irina to a safe location where she thanks him and informs him that she knows his real identity. At first, Saoji acts confused, but when confronted he reverts to his real form and calls out Turul to explain what's going on. Instead of saying anything, she gives Irina the yellow twin gear and asks her to become the heroine that she always wanted to become. Irina equips the gear and transforms into a grown-up woman with big bodonkas and immediately heads to defeat the crab boss who has been teasing Eika for a while. Eika comes up to her and is surprised to see her form, especially those big and juicy melons. She feels jealous, especially when she looks at Saoji's heated gaze. However, Irina is ecstatic to be finally able to join her dream team of heroes that she always wanted to become a part of. Meanwhile, far away from them, in the head base, the ever-so-mysterious Dark Grasper finally arrives in front of everyone and shocks everyone as he is a human. Back to the fight. Irina is up against the crab boss, but when she tries to use her Twin Tails gear, unexpectedly she isn't able to utilize it properly and fails to do any damage to the crab boss. So to save her ass, Saoji and Eika act and defeat him. After defeating him, they talk to Irina, who seems to have been struck badly by this accident. She also feels very embarrassed, as earlier she was hyping herself to be a great hero and now she wasn't even able to use her powers. Later at the school, she gives up her gear and returns it to Saoji. However, Saoji doesn't know why she would give up on her gear when she loves Twin Tails too. However, she still tries to explain to him, but when Saoji continues to persist, she ends up giving and asks everyone to leave so she can leave and talk to Saoji alone. After Turul and others leave, she opens up to Saoji about her feelings for Twin Tails. She informs him that she never loved Twin Tails and never wanted to have them. She only wore them because of her mother, who told her that it was her family tradition. Throughout her childhood, everyone bullied her for having twin tails, and even when she grew up that didn't stop and people called her childish. So in the end, she ended up despising them and they became something that she hated. Saoji tries to explain to her that hating them won't solve anything and that he knows that in her heart she loves them. He also assures her that her mother did it for her and that she loved her. He holds her shoulder and continues to lecture her with his face close to her, which makes her embarrassed, so she kindly asks him to back away. Saoji realizes his mistake and backs away, but stops when he notices her twin tails growing. He holds them in his hand and asks if she can see them, but unfortunately, she isn't a schizophrenic like him, so she answers that she didn't see anything. He tells her that it's the feelings for twin tails inside her that make her hair glow up. He makes her delusional that she can do it and that she loves twin tails. In the end, Erina is persuaded by him and agrees to accept the twin tail gear and decides to fight for justice and to protect the twin tails. Eka and others come back and congratulate her for regaining her love for twin tails. But the real problem still stands, and that is that unlike Eka and Saoji, who have been well trained since childhood, Erina has always been the frail princess throughout her life. So that's why Saoji decided to let her undergo a special training session to learn more about her abilities and how to properly utilize them. But just when they are about to head out to train, their twin gears alert them of a warning that two potential bosses are having a meeting at a random location. Eka asks them to go and do special training and assures them that she will take the bosses on her own and it isn't a big deal. After they all head to their spots, Saoji asks Erina to transform, so she does that and transforms into her big busted form. Afterward, Turul orders Saoji to grab a big boulder and throw it at Erina. Erina is shocked and tells them that she won't be able to do it, but Turul gives her a motivational speech to hype her up as Saoji grabs a giant boulder and throws it at Erina. Instead of becoming a meat paste, Erina blasts through the giant boulder as if it's paper, which seriously shocks Saoji and even Turul, who created it. Erina, who has just used her powers for the first time, becomes extremely ecstatic that she goes into her bitch mode, which allows her to perform her abilities at 100%. But the downside is that she has to drop off her heavy armor to show off her giant. Meanwhile, Eka arrives at the hideout of the two bosses, who are none other than the Kraken boss and Leviathan boss. They are surprised to see Eka here, especially Leviathan, who is a fan of flat-chested women. But Kraken, on the other hand, hates flat chests and disrespects Eka, which makes her very enraged. But before she can do anything, he grabs her with his tentacles and makes sure she isn't able to move. Eka calls out for her help, so Saoji and the others receive her signals and immediately come to rescue her. But just when they arrive, it turns out Eka has already brutally beaten one till it gave up. The reason for her rage was that Kraken continued to target her flat chest, which is her only insecurity. So she got so angry that she went into her berserk mode and berserked all over Kraken. However, after that, she is completely out of energy, so she ends up falling unconscious. Erina decides to take care of Leviathan next, as she wants to test her newly learned abilities. She goes into her bitch mode as Saoji praises her and asks her to expose herself to him. She goes completely wild and destroys Leviathan, who can't believe that he was defeated by a woman with big juicy melons. Just when they think that everything is over, their real nemesis arrives in front of them, the Dark Grasper. The Dark Grasper mistakes Saoji to be Turul, as this gear belonged to her in the past. She introduces herself and tells them about her power, which looks very familiar to their Twin Tails gear. The Dark Grasper informs them that this is her Twin Glasses gear, which combines the specialities of both glasses and twin tails. She then asks Saoji, whom she mistaken to be Turul, if she remembers her, but Saoji doesn't know how to answer, so Turul asks him to copy her and just say what she is saying. Saoji repeats her words as he talks to the Dark Grasper. He tells her that she is Asina and that he remembers her. He asks her how she is doing. The Dark Grasper is extremely excited as she can't believe her favorite person remembers her. She tells her that she misses her very much and wonders what happened to her, especially to her giant melons, which were magnificent back in the day. Saoji tells her that he lost them in the battle with the Ultimate Lord and they disintegrated into another dimension. The Dark Grasper is grief-stricken after hearing this, as she can't believe such magnificent globs of fat disappeared just like that. However, she assures her that she will do her best to restore her to her original glory, as now she is under the Ultimate Lord and has even become his right hand. She also invites her to join them, but Saoji rejects her and informs her that they will never join the Ultimate Lord. The Dark Grasper is disappointed, but she informs them that she will be back again, but next time she will be an enemy. But before she can go, she asks Saoji to give his number, but Saoji makes the excuse that he doesn't have a phone this world, which disappoints the Dark Grasper, so she just leaves. After she leaves, everyone gets up and signs, as things have become even more complicated. Meanwhile, in the head base, the Dark Grasper summons her minions and gives them some orders on her behalf. In the control room, the Sparrow boss is talking to other Eleminions about the dire situation. Even their two strong bosses died under the hands of the three Twin Tails. If two weren't enough, now there is a third one as well. They study their moves to learn more about their skills. The Yellowtail's ability is very simple. She is like darkness from Konosuba. The more blow to her reputation she suffers, the stronger she gets. She is a masochist who enjoys shame. While they are discussing, the Dark Grasper arrives in front of them and asks them to come with her, as she wants everyone in the boss to listen to her commands from now on. One of the Eleminian bosses is getting too haughty and decides to challenge her, but he gets obliterated by her deadly sigh. Seeing her abilities truly put fear in everyone's mind as they realize not to mess with her. After dealing with everyone, she asks for their friend code, but everyone is too afraid, so they make random excuses. She scoffs at them and leaves as she heads back to her room. There she returns to normal clothes and acts like an emo bitch who whines all day about having no friends. Her summons asks her to act normal, so she might be able to make friends, or else she will be friendless throughout her whole life. On the other hand, our heroes are having